It's big, it's up there and it's coming down, but it's worth remembering that a lot of material falls to the Earth every day, both natural and artificial. Now, 6 tons, fairly big satellite, but on the other hand, you have to think about the fact that only about 10% of that will actually get down to Earth in substantial chunks, and even that is distributed over quite a wide area. I think they work out on the models that about 26 fragments will make it to Earth. So, I mean, the 1 in 3,000 figure actually sounds quite high, but when you work out that there are, 6-7 billion on the planet, that means the odds of you as an individual being hit by this are about 1 in 20 trillion, so many, many times smaller than the chances of being struck by lightning, for example.
That seems to reduce the risk somewhat when you make the calculation that way. Just what is this satellite, and how come it has to fall to Earth? And I mean, you know, there's obvious answers, I'm sure, but it seems quite a clunky way to dispose of it.
Well, the satellite was actually launched in the early 1990s to study the upper atmosphere of the Earth, and it produced quite a lot of maps of that, and, you know, it looked at the ozone hole, for example. Many satellites eventually end up coming back down to Earth, and ideally you want to do that in a controlled way, and their orbit decays, and sometimes you can give them a bit of a nudge to bring them down at the time you want. This one's not like that. It's coming down in an uncontrolled way, which isn't ideal. But if you want an example of a big controlled re-entry, well, the Mir space station in 2001, which was huge, a Russian space station, came down over the South Pacific, very, very dramatic, but obviously came down in a completely uninhabited part of the world.
I always feel like I'm going to ask a really stupid question, but why is it coming back down to Earth? I mean, a lot of satellite stuff just stays in space, doesn't it? Why is this one coming back?
Well, depending on how high they are, most material will eventually come down to Earth. I mean, they go through the upper atmosphere of the Earth. The atmosphere doesn't sort of suddenly shut off, it fades away, and it also expands and contracts.
So the Earth's pull is still out, you know...
Well, the Earth's pull is very much there. That's what keeps things in orbit.
Yeah.
And what actually happens is the friction with the upper atmosphere slows things down, and eventually then they come down to Earth. And it's a bit unpredictable, which is why it's not possible to say exactly where this will come down.